I introduce our resource person of FDP, that is a Dr. Vimal Trivedi sir, respected Dr. Vimal Trivedi sir. He is an associate professor, Center for Social Studies with Narmad University, Surat. His area of interest have been mainly research methodology, waste management, and environmental issues and higher education. He is experienced statistician with over 3 decades experience analyzing and interpreting quantitative data. He has a very well knowledge in using statistical tools, SP, SS, and methodology. He providing a consulting to teams as well as analyzing and interpretation of more than 100 study data. He was project consultant appointed by ICSSR New Delhi in the project entitled Education Status of Scheduled Tribes, Attempt and Challenging. He assists more than 60 MPhil students and a PhD research scholar under his guidance and consultant scheme of ICSSR. He has immense working knowledge of SPSS. He is monitor of SPSS South Asia Pacific Limited, Bangalore. He has over 25 years of experience in training, and he has developed his own concept of conducting the most efficient trainings. He was a course director of various training programs like computer applications in social science, and he has completed 8 major research projects and published more than 30 articles in a peer-reviewed journals. He published 2 books. The latest one is on the skill development training and their impact on a scheduled tribes youth. Recently, he has published 3 articles. First is the understanding and addressing livelihood problems of rice pickers in Surat city, IISSI quarterly contribution in the journal Contribution to Indian Social Science. Another research paper is the enhanced service delivery in urban local government, a case study of Surat Municipal Corporation, Nagarlok, quarterly journal of urban affairs. And the third article is the impact of knowledge. It is a recent one in 4 September 2021. It is published. This article is a impact of lockdown measures taken during COVID-19 pandemic on the livelihood of rat pickers. A case study in Surat had published in a mainstream volume 38. Thank you, sir. I request, sir, to start your valuable lecture, sir. Thank you.
Hello, sir. Your voice is not audible.
Yes.
Trivesh sir, you are not audible. Hello.
Sir, please reinsert your plug. Reinsert your mic plug, sir. You are not audible. Please reinsert your headphone plug. No, sir, you are not audible. Please remove your headphone plug and then reinsert it.
Okay. So first, let me say thanks, Dr. Mohan Rajmeji and workshop organizer for inviting me as a resource person in 6 days faculty development program for university and college teachers, and giving me opportunity for sampling concept and sample design. I'm going to talk about why we need to go for sampling in research. What are the steps involved in sampling? And I will also explain type of sampling technique, both random and non-random. Usually in social science, we pick random sampling, then the non-random sampling. I would like to explain the most critical aspect, and that's the size of the sample. Because I know that most of the PhD students and the teachers, those who have a minor or major project in university, they always struggle with the size of a sample. When they shift from village to city and their survey area is city, and it is always difficult to judge that what is the precise size of the sample. Okay, before I talk about the sampling, because you know that in social science there are two approach. One is quantitative and second one is qualitative approach. So you have to understand that sampling in quantitative and sampling in qualitative is altogether is different. Because I'm just giving you one line that in quantitative representation is important, but in qualitative representation is not important. In quantitative sample, size is important. Generally, people say that more size of sample, less sample error. But in qualitative, number is not important, because in-depth interview, unstructured interview schedule. So sample size is not matter in qualitative research. So you have to understand both things in when you are doing research. So I will highlight the importance of this workshop, especially in this. So what is the methodology you prefer, that is quantitative or qualitative? To me, sometimes it is better to apply quantitative method, while in other case it is preferable to apply qualitative approach. I think it depends on the study purpose, objective, because you know that in quantitative we talk about objective, and in qualitative we talk about the subjective. The better choice is the one dictated by the data, the research question, the depth of knowledge a researcher aim to achieve, as well as skill. Skill means you are good in quantitative or you are good in qualitative. So it's up to you. But when you are selecting the approach to understand your research problem, sampling matters. So to me, a vital factor is available time for the completion of research. And it's always true that qualitative research and analysis is always time consuming. And yes, pros and cons are both in there, quantitative and qualitative. So you have to understand this both approach. So now I shift to my today's topic. But before I touch these various type of sampling technique and why we need a sample, just I give you some brief idea about some terms using in sampling technique. That is first, population. So what is population? A population is aggregate of all the cases that conform to some designated set of specification. Every 10 years, for example, every 10 years, the Indian government conducts a census, a count of every person living in the country as required by the constitution. It's a massive undertaking. It's a massive, that is why it's a census.
Hello, sir.
So another example, I'm just giving you the population. You have to understand population, because I have seen that still some student or teacher have not understand about the population. First, you have to understand then it's okay. Known population and unknown population, that is altogether different. But you have to understand the population. Another example I am just giving you, if researcher conduct a study on citizen satisfaction with municipal services in any city, Pune or Kolhapur, Satara, whatever, which is ultimately consisting of all the people inhabited in Surat city. Now,
Please share your PPT, sir.
huh?
Please share your PPT.
Hello.
Please share your PPT, sir.
Yes, I'm explaining. Then I'm coming on the PPT.
Okay, sorry, sir.
Oh no! First, you have to understand the population, sample size. Then I will go by PPT. Okay, PPT to teach PPT. It's just like a monotoss. I'm just giving you the concept of population.
Okay, sir.
So when you have a study like citizen satisfaction with municipal services, now you have a population. You have a population, known population. How you known population? Take the list of water list from the corporation. Then you have a list of water list in the city. From that you can select the sample. But now it is up to you. Now it is up to you that this is the list you can consider as a population. But you are conducting a study on citizen satisfaction with municipal services. So think about it, that those who are recently settled in the city, are you considered as a sample or not? So population is always varies from issue to issue. So you have to understand, when you are focusing only citizen of satisfaction with municipal services in people living in the city, and you are giving a one control variable that those who are residing in the city at least 3 years, I will consider him or her in my study. So that is, so you have to be careful about your population. Otherwise, it increases the sample error. Second thing, you have to understand the strata. Now, strata is also one of the components. When you have a simple random sample, there is no need to understand about strata. But sometimes stratified sample, in the stratified sample, the strata, the specification that divide a population into a mutually exclusive segment, you have to understand. For example, I'm just giving you, again, see, same research problem, in same research problem, and you are saying that I am considering those who are below 21 years of age, or sorry, more than 20 years of age. So again, you are, from your total population, you are considering those sample, their age is more than 21 years. Okay. Now, in these population, if you want to collect the information proportionately, how proportionately? That male and female, then from lower settlement, from higher income settlement, then very kacha houses like Santis, kacha house, street. So you are again splitting population in strata, cluster, like that. So you have to understand first population, then the need of your research, and considering the need of your study, you are splitting the population. Now the third component, third term generally used in sampling is, that is a population element. a single member of a population referred to a population element. So proportion of male element working in textile industry. So that is one example. You are so population element you have to identify when you have a sample design. And the last one is sample. You all know that sample is a individual from a larger population, and we generally select sample according to our sample design. So now I shift to the why sampling is important. Generally, in very lucid manner, I can say that sampling is important because it's more economically in time, effort, and money to get the desired information for only some of the population element rather than all. When a researcher selects some of the element with the intention of finding out something about the population from which they are taken, that group of elements is referred as a sample. Okay, so to draw a valid conclusion from your result, when I say valid conclusion from your result, I am referring the quantitative research. You have to carefully decide how you will select the sample that is representative of the group as a whole. When I use representative, it indicates the quantitative research. So there are two types of sampling. One is probability and the second one is non-probability. So I'm first, I share the PPT. Now it is visible. My PPT is visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so there are two type of sampling. One is probability sampling and second one is non-probability. People are saying that random sampling, non-random sampling. You have to understand, and I am giving you some example because you know now with the help of Google and so many ebook are available on internet. So I don't want to go into the theory. Because in online training program, example is more important than the theory. So why probability sampling is important? The essential characteristic of probability sampling is that it can specify for each element of the population, the probability that it will be included in the sample. The chances are same. The chances are same to each element. So that is the probability sampling. And you know that the probability sampling or random sampling leads a particular statistical technique. So you have a two type of statistical technique, a parametrics and second one is non-parametrics. So when you have a random sampling, probability sampling, that means you can use parametrics. Otherwise, you cannot use parametrics. You have to go for non-parametrics. So sampling is also important when you are selecting the various statistical tests. The essential characteristic of probability sampling is that it can specify each element. So, and the aim is produce a statistical representative sample, that kind of small scale model of the population from which it is drawn. Okay, so I always speak to my student that probability sampling is more viable than the non-probability sampling. But sometime you don't have a known population and you have to go for non-probability sampling. For example, I will give you the example, drug addicts, or in my case, the list of rec pickers is not available with the corporation. So how can I draw a sample from rec pickers city? So sometime we have to draw a sample with the help of non-random or non-probability sample. So I will talk in next 50 to 60 minutes step involved in sampling techniques and types of the sampling. So as I already talk about the sampling save money by allowing researcher to gather the sample, budget and time constraint in case of large population. In a small population, it doesn't matter. Either you consider sample or you consider whole population. For example, in village, hardly 150 people household are living, and you have a one program that evaluation of one program like Mahatma Gandhi employment scheme, and you are evaluating that scheme. So there is no need to collect information and draw a sample, because in a village hardly 150 people, 150 household are living there. So it is up to you. It is up to you. But in social science, to save some money, to save time, researcher go for sample rather than considering the population. Second thing is sampling many sometimes produce more accurate result than taking a census, as in the later. There are more risk for making interview and other error due to the high volume of person contacted. And to me, the advantage of sample to me, because when you are conducting a study in 6-7 states and you have to train investigator for field work, so it is also a tricky task for you. So if you have a sample, then you have to recruit less number of investigator, and you have to less number of days to train them. So that is why people are go for sample rather than this. You can see select the sample. I have already mentioned that the size of population is important. If the size of population in lakhs, then you have to complete. You have to think about that. I will not go beyond 1,000 sample, or I will not go beyond 2,000 sample. That is, and what I am saying, it is already written in the authentic book. I'm just giving you couple of books name in the later stage. You can refer that book, and in that book, the author mentioned that in our social science research, we say that hold your breath. Hold your breath means don't think that too much, that no, I need in Surat there are 70 lakh people are living, so at least I have to consider 10,000 or 20,000. No, there is no need, because in survey, when you are adding a sample, and you are not adding a knowledge, then there is no need to increase the sample. Okay, so for example, you calculate the percentage from 2,000 and you calculate percentage from 20,000. If it is same, then adding the 18,000 sample, it is a loss of money, loss of time, and delay in your research outcome. So think about this. I'm just giving you some tips in my lecture. So the advantage and the disadvantage in both probability sampling and non-probability sampling. So probability sampling involve random selection, allowing you to make strong statistical inference about the whole group. Understand? Inference means parametrics. Inference, time series, cluster analysis, discriminant analysis, even in measure of association to test the row and column variable, row and column question. You have to a probability sample rather than non-probability sample. So but non-probability sample involve non-random selection based on convenience, snowball, other criteria, allowing to easily collect the data. Now, sample strategy. Types of sampling technique, and the first sampling technique generally students are using for their PhD work, and that is a simple random sampling, or you can see that sometime some education inspector went to the classroom and asked some question to different student and choose some student, pick the student. It's a simple random sample. Or simple random sample means from the population, you are selecting one by one. You are not considering population type A, population B, population C. No, for you, it's a one population. So random sampling occurs when a research ensures every member of the population being studied has an equal chance of being selected to participate in the study. For example, in population of 1,000 members, every member will have a 1 divided by 1,000 chance of being selected to be a part of a sample. Probability sample eliminate bias in population and gives all the members a fair chance to be included in the sample. Now, simple random sample, you can select if you have a list, for example, in the village, suppose you have a list from the Talati or surveyor. Now, from the list, you select 10, 15, 20 with the help of random number table, or nowadays you can have a Excel facility. So you can give the command in Excel equal to random multiply by 100, 10, 20, whatever, and draw a line. Then you will get a first 10 random number from out of 1 to 100. So you can select the sample with the help of simple random sampling. I don't want to go into the detail because simple random sampling, you all know. So, but you can see that this is the random table in 80s, because I know that when I joined this institute in 1987, we select the sample with the help of this random number table. You can see that those books published in 70 or 80, you can see this random number table at the end of the book. So people can still use this random number table for simple random sampling. Second is that you can use the this command in Excel. For example, random between 1 to 875. Random number 1 to, because you have a 875 people in the list. From out of 875, you want to select 10 people. So you can give command equal to random between 1 to 875 and then draw straight to the 10 cell. So you can get, even in option B, you can use this into 1 plus 870 random this into 10 spreadsheet. Then you will get. Nowadays, people are using the software also, or through the website, the random.org. You can select the random. Okay. Now the second type is stratified sample. the difference between simple random sampling and the stratified sample is here the population divide in strata. Considering the strata, so strata is the component who divide the population. For example, in the school, there are two type of students, boys and girls. Nowadays, third. Now the third category is in the gender. But more or less, there are two type of population in the school, boys and girls. And in the school, 70% boys and 30% girls. Then when you are selecting sample, you have to draw a sample considering the population, that is 70% boys and 30% girls. So if you are selecting 10, then you have to select 7 from boys and 3 from girls. So that is a stratified sample. Again, in stratified sample, I'm just giving you the tips because PPT is, I'm just giving you PPT. You can read this PPT. Important is concept. Concept is important. When you have a stratified sample, the sample size is bigger than simple random sample, because in simple random sample you have a one population, but in stratified sample you have a two population or more than two population. So you have to select a sample, more sample when you have a stratified sample. Why I will give you here you can see that in the chart. I will show you. I will show you in the end of this. Why I am saying this? Because when you are selecting sample, considering this data, and you have a two-way table, row and column. So in chi-square test, the chi-square test suggests that in a cell, if it is less than 5, then you will not consider the chi-square value or chi-square test. So these kind of problem arise when you are considering the data analysis. So think about it. Stratified sample, then you have to select. For example, if you want to know the problem related with the land, then in the village 70% or 60% or 50% landless and remaining 50% holding a land. So you have to consider 50% sample from those who don't have a land. So unless until you are not considering the proportional sample, then your statistic, your result mislead. So please be careful. For I am given the example, okay, researcher looking to analyze the characteristic of people belonging to different annual income division. 1 minute. Hello, I am in. अरे वो मैं lecture में हूँ अभी आधा घंटे के बाद मैं फोन करता हूँ. ठीक है आपका तीसरा फोन है इसलिए मैं बात कर रहा हूँ. Hello, so characteristic of people belonging to different annual income division will create a strata group according to the annual family income. So for example, less than 10,000 to 10,000 to 20,000, 20,000 to 50,000. So now you have an income data. Now you have income data and the proportionate you have. So you have to select this sample from all these category. So that is the idea behind the stratified sample. Now the third one, the popular one in the social science, and that is the cluster random sampling. Nowadays, to reduce the sample error, social scientists use cluster random sampling. Why I am saying that? in the cluster random sampling, both simple and stratified, both are all together. How? I will just show you. Cluster sampling is a probability sampling technique where researcher divide the population into multiple group here cluster, not in male and female. It's a group means cluster means it's lead to geographical. Okay. So researcher then select a random group with a simple random or systematic random sampling technique for data collection and data analysis. Is it clear? Why I am saying that nowadays researcher, because one thing is that in our research, two aspects is important. One is precise sample, and the second one is how to reduce the sample error. Precise sample always connect with the sample error. Generally, for example, if you have a two average, one average, for example, you have asked randomly to 10 or 15 students about their age, and then you have calculate average age. Now you have again you select some student and calculate the average. Now you have a two average. Which one you consider? Here the sample error is important. So like that you have to understand this sample technique. Read carefully. I will give you couple of books name. You read this because sampling technique and sample is important in the research. So select a group, a sample unit rather than individual require a large number of group cluster. So it's a multi-stage cluster sampling. People are saying it's a multi-stage sampling. So I do not want to go into the detail. In this sampling technique, researcher analyze sample that consist of multiple sample parameters such as demographic, habits, background, or any other population attributes. Population attributes. I say already male, female, Hindu, Islam, Christian, literate, illiterate, landless and landholding. So these kind of population attributes you can consider when you are considering this third type of sampling. And I know that in the city, if I want to study in the Surat city, I always prefer to go for cluster random sampling instead of stratified or sample or systematic. Systematic sample important when you don't have a population list, because you know that in the village 200 household, 300 household, and you have to select 50. So you can divide 300 divided by 50, then you have a number. First select one random number from 1 to this, and then go by with this distance. Systematic sample. That is very easy. Stratified sample, it's again small population, go for stratified sample. But a large population, you have to cluster random sampling. For example, in city, there are 8 zone. 8 zone. So 8 zone is cluster for me. Now, the question is whether I consider all 8 zone. Yeah, I will put it some group that zone 1, zone 3, and zone 5 most probably similar. The population, their population density, their income, their ethnic group are more or less same. For example, in Surat, there are more than one Surat. One is lower settlement, second one is middle income settlement, third is high income settlement. If I ask the income and I calculate the average income, it is mislead. It is mislead because I don't know the proportionate of population of higher income, proportionate of population of lower income, proportionate of population of middle income. So per capita income, average income of the city, all these statistics are not considerable or mislead. So to reduce the sample error and to get the precise average, you have to divide in cluster to divide in cluster to accommodate the sample from various income group. So, and you know that if you study that people are talking about the outliner. What is outliner? That is because you have not considered a good sample. That is why you have a outliner. Okay. So to reduce or to minimize the sample error, think about this. So cluster random sample is important when you have a big this. And the last one is systematic sampling. So researcher use the systematic sampling method to choose the sample member of a population at regular interval. You can see this. You can see this chart. Yeah. So for example, from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, out of 6, I have selected one number. That is, and that number is 2. That number is 2. So with the length of this 1, 2, and 3, the gap of 3, I select the second. With the gap of 3, select third. With the gap of 3, select this. With the gap of 3, this. Like that, I consider the sample. So systematic sample is researcher use the systematic sample method to choose the sample member of a population at regular interval. It requires the selection of a starting point for the sample and sample size that can be repeated at regular interval. This type of sampling method has a predefined range, and hence the sampling technique is the least time consuming. Sample by choosing entry every kth item from a list starting from a random chosen entry on the list. You can see that. Now the catch is in the systematic sample. In the systematic sample, we study, even you can refer the book, they mention the list. List means population list. In my 30 years career, I have seen that in the city, when researchers start the survey, instruct the investigator that take one interview from one high rise, one interview from low rise, one interview from Chali, one interview from Kacha Pakka house, like that. I have not seen even the list. I go through the list. For example, water list, I go through, and from the water list, I can identify. But the catch is the water list prepared 5 years back or 10 years back. So that type of problem we have to face in the field. So generally, even good researcher reduce the error by instructing to the investigator that consider one male, then consider female also. Consider from respondent from certain age group. So these thing is investigator apply at the time of field work. I have seen I do not want to name a good researcher. Good researcher means those I am considering their book is in Cambridge or Sage, Oxford, and I was a part of that study, and nothing wrong. You can okay, you don't have a known population, you can generate a list of population from the field. Okay, for example, in my study, to understand the socioeconomic condition or livelihood problem of rag pickers. So what I did is that I approached the broker, that is a waste dealer, and asked them that please give me the name of those provide you the waste every day. So you are purchasing the waste from the rec pickers or waste pickers. So there are two type of waste picker. One is that rec pickers, that is they collect from the roadside or from the this, and the second one is that they collect the waste by giving the money. So there are two type of rec pickers. So you have to consider that the rec pickers population is not one. There are two type of waste picker. One is rec pickers and second one is waste picker. Waste picker is generally male. They are male because they have to run with the cart and heavy cart and with the money, and the money is given by broker. Money is given by broker to purchase the newspaper, purchase the tin, the purchase is bottle, like that. And we know that we never throw the newspaper because we know that the newspaper resale value. So when you consider population, you have a two type of population. Now you know that rec picker size are more than the waste pickers. So you have to consider more rec pickers than the waste pickers. Now you can prepare the list from the broker, from the NGO, from the spot, like transportation, dumping site, and you make the list and you ask that every day you are coming here to collect the waste. He or she said yes. Then not down the name. Like that, you can prepare the list and then you can select some number. So that is also possible. That is also possible. It is up to you to only saying that no, I don't have a known population. So now I am helpless to use the parametric test. No, you can use parametric test. So like that. So systematic sample generally people are used when you have you don't have a list of respondent to select the sample. So what you can is that for example in the village there are 10 falia, and out of 10 falia you can have a list of one falia, and then you have a size of the village. For example, in the village 100 household are living there. In the one falia 1 to 20. Now you want to collect information from 30 people. So what you can do is 100 divided by 30, that is 3. That the number is 3. So now you pick the one sample from 1 to 3 or 1 to 4, and that number is 3. Now your first sample is 3, then 4, 5, 6, second sample is 7. So like that, so you skip the house, first house, then skip 3 house, then collect the information from 4th house, collect from the 7th house, collect from the 10th house. That is a systematic sample. So that is very important aspect when you have a large data, city level data. So you can classify it in cluster, that I already said, that in ward or in zone. Then from the ward you select the sample systematically, that I have considered this house, then I will consider next house after 15 or 20 house I will skip. So like that, this is systematic. Then in the systematic sample also you consider that I will consider male and female, I will consider aged and not aged, I will consider those who are working in the government, those who are their own business. You can, it is up to you. But the thing is what to do with your data. That means objective your study. So consider the objective of your study and then think about the sample. So then now I switch over to non-probability sampling. Non-probability sampling is nowadays researcher are using. Earlier, when I joined this institute, I was told by many researchers that non-random sampling used by journalists, not social scientists. Social scientists always more or less on probability sampling. Uh, uh, but now I have seen that because of some issue, and you don't have you cannot find the respondent, or sometime some issue is very sensitive, and in that sense you will not get the information from the respondent, and you can collect that information through the sample. So you have to go for non-random sample. And the non-random sample, I already mentioned that this sampling is not a fixed or predefined selection process. This makes it difficult for the elements of a population to have equal opportunity. In the random sample, it is the first idea is equal opportunity. Equal opportunity means male and female, equal opportunity to Hindu and Islam, equal opportunity to those who are residing in the city from years, and those who are migrate. So that is a equal opportunity. But in non-random, there is a possibility that you have select the sample those who are native. You have not considered those who are migrate. So a non-random sample having a big sample error, because it's you have not on the basis of probability sample. So by and large, 4: convenient sample, judgment or purposive sample, snowball sample, or quota sample. Quota sample, I already mentioned, I don't want to go that. I will consider 50 students in my research. I will go into the library if I want to study the SS of the library. So I will go to the library a couple of days and ask to the student about the various question, and then I will come out with the finding. So that is a quota sample. But and the second one is convenient sample. Convenient sample, that first come first. Those are ready to provide me information. So I will consider that respondent. So that is a convenient sample. Judgment or purposive sample. That means I think that these are the people are cooperate me. So I will focus only those respondent. That is a judgmental and the purposive side. And the last one is snowball. Snowball sample is very important in social science. I also use in couple of study. For example, a study on textile worker. At that time, snowball sample is important. You can see that employee in the textile industry, these all are informal sector. And you know that in informal sector, no one provide you the list of employee. You have to approach the employee either on the tea stall or on the shop where they take their meal, or some other place where they informally gather. So you have to collect information from that places. So, so snowball sample is also important. So you pick one text worker from the textile industry, and then ask that whether he or she know about the other employee like him, and he or she provide you couple of name, so that you can enlarge your list. You can create your list, or and that is why snowball sampling is known as a chain sampling technique. Okay, so I first is that convenience sampling. It's a non-probability sampling technique where a sample are selected from the population only because they are conveniently available to the researcher. I already mentioned that the students, because you went somewhere in the university campus, and those who are available, not available, even they are ready to provide information. So it's a convenient sample. So for example, convenient sampling would be using student volunteer known for the researcher. Researcher can send the survey to students belonging to a particular school, college, or university and act as a sample. So first come available, first theory. So convenient sampling means first come first. Okay. Now the second one is judgmental or purposive sampling. In this method, researchers select the sample based purely on the researcher knowledge and credibility. I've already that some people, some household that I know these people are good enough to understand my study, to understand the issue, and they will provide precise information. But again, the bias is there. Again, the bias is that I already uh, uh, have a judgment that he or she has a knowledge of my issue. So it's a judgmental or purposive sample. Does this research technique involve a high amount of ambiguity? So it is up to you which sample technique you can use. It is up to you. Snowball sampling. I already mentioned that snowball sampling method helps researcher find a sample when they are difficult to locate. I already given the reference rec pickers. The another example is that drug addicts. Drug addicts. That how can you have a list of drug addicts, or how can someone give you the name that he or she is a drug addict? But in the process of your study, if you identified one drug addict, and then you can ask. So this sample system works like the referral program. Once the researcher finds suitable subject, he asks them for the assistant to seek similar subject. So you can create the chain. For example, I have given the example, if researchers are conducting a study of drug addiction with rare listing of drug addicts, it may be difficult to find this individual. However, if they can find just a few initial individual to be in the study, then they can ask them to recruit further individual. They may know through a first interview and then start a group. So snowball sampling, you can see that snowball sampling is a nothing but is a chain sampling. Now, last component of this my lecture is what the size sample do I need? The answer I will give you in a very brief. The answer to this question is influenced by a number of factors. Which are the factors? The purpose of the study. Second, population size and the risk of selecting a bad sample. I already mentioned outliner. Outline is a bad sample. So a bad sample and the allowable sample error. The moment you have a bad sample error increase. Okay. So data analysis plan, number of cell, one will have to cross tabulation. You can see that the sample size matter. If your sample is less if the sample is less, the chances are like this. Chances are like that. And if the cell entry is less than 5, then this table is not viable. This table is not viable. And that is why in research methodology, people are saying that regroup, recode. So people are regroup. Why regroup? So regroup will eliminate this kind of error. So keep it in mind. When you have a less than 5 in this cell entry, then you have to understand this, because in chi-square test, the data analysis, the cross tab, at least 5 or more than 5 you need. Okay, so both in quantitative and in qualitative. Now, determination of sample size in quantitative. Determination, first, level of precision. You have to level of precision. What is level of precision? I will consider sampling error. Try to reduce the sample error. Second is level of confidence. That is risk. Generally say that we in social science say that whatever the result I explain here or interpret here, that, and you have considered 500 respondents, then you can say that out of 500, I will say that 95% sample. That means out of 100, whatever the result you have in your with the help of SPSS or Excel, out of 100, whatever the result you are interpreting is from 95 cases, not from 100. That is the level of confidence. That is 95% confidence level is selected. That is 95 of out of 100 sample will have the true population value within the range of precision. And the third one is degree of validity. In the attribute being measured, refer to the distribution attribute in the population. So for example, the sample size, a good research methodology book refer that minimum 30 and maximum 1000. You can't generate table from 20, 25 sample. Minimum sample, at least you need a 30. Why I'm saying is that when you have a regression analysis, when you have a correlation, so the assumption of that statistical test is minimum 30, and you can fix a sample size that I will not go more than 1000. So like that, you can maximum limit you can maximum, but minimum is 30, not less than 30. So, and the last one is external validity. External validity is not that much important, but people are in the theory. That is why I'm giving you the idea. Now, strategy for determining the sample size. How? One, forget about the sample. Consider the population. Then forget about the sample size. There is no sample size. So all the household of the village, all the student of the class 10 of the XYZ school, that means forget about the sample. You are considering population. Second one is, but in the city, you have to. Second one is imitating a sample size of similar study, past study. In the review of literature, the same study carried out by some researcher. Now you look at the sample size considered by him or her. That's the second approach. Third one is applying the formula to calculate the sample size. I have given the name of that book, Cochrane 1963, and the page number 75. So, and the last one is use computer software. For example, EPI Info, Excel, SPSS, and they provide you a precise sample size. But if I consider my experience, and if I train myself in social science research organization, I have never used this formula. I have never used the computer. So best way is the judgment from the pilot study. So one approach I have already that you can consider the sample as a population. Second one is using a sample size of a similar study, that use the sample size as those of study similar to the one you plan, that site you have referenced. Without reviewing the procedure employed in the study, you may run the risk of repeating error that were made in determining the sample size. So when you are selecting the sample, or you are taking that sample size from the earlier study, then keep it in mind, the sample error and the bias also come true. So the second is that is the problem, that the whatever the error that made in determining the sample size are with you. And the third one is, however, a review of literature in your discipline can provide guidance about the typical sample size that are used. That is also, for example, in the village, you have already decided that I will go for 300. But in the village, in the pilot study, in the pilot survey, you have experience that out of 10, those I have interviewed, out of 10, the response rate is more than 90%. Response rate is good enough. The respondents are quite aware about my study. The respondents are cooperate me. They are highly educated. Then you think about your sample size, that whether should I go for 300 or I will go between 200 to 300. Anytime I can stop. That is also possible. Deciding the sample size. So people, I'm just giving you, the people are like that. Then Cochrane's equation. You can see the Cochrane equation I have explained here. It's a very highly technical, but I will give you this PPT. In this PPT, how you calculate the sample size, I have given this, the two approach. One is that the population is more than less than 50,000. Then one approach, the population is more than 50,000. That's the second approach. So these are the two approach with the help of formula. So you can this, and this I'm giving you some reference book, and this one book is the best book in my knowledge. Introduction to Survey Sampling, author Graham Kirk, publisher Beverly Hills, Sage Publication, a series of quantitative application in social science. I'm recommending to all the participants that read these books. There are 50 to 60 books, and each book having a 30 to 40 pages. And you know the cost of the book, 30-page book is cost is 20 pound, 30 pound, 50 pound. So, but if you find this kind of books, because in our institute we have this kind of book, and these books known as a series of quantitative research. Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you very much. Hello. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Is there any question?
Our session is open for question and answering. If anybody having any question, please raise your hand.
Or you can write on the chat box also.
Yes. Prasada HK is there. Who wants to ask question? Please unmute yourself, sir. Yes.
Sir, nice presentation, sir. Thank you for the presentation. Sir, I have a question.
Yes, sir. Please continue. Sir, please unmute yourself. Yes.
Thank you so much, sir. Nice presentation, sir. Thank you for the presentation. So I have a question. So while selecting sampling, how do we select the sampling, whether it is random sampling or non-random sampling? How we can select, sir? Is there any methodology for that?
Yes. It's a good question. It's a good question. It's generally researcher find difficult to whether I consider random sample or non-random samples. First thing, I already mentioned in my lecture that your study approach. Now you can see that in the research, you can listen me. Is it I am audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Audible, sir.
Okay. So in the social science research, you know that there are two types of research. One is descriptive and second one is analytical. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
When you have a descriptive research, probability sample and non-probability sample, not that much different. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because in descriptive research, you are come out with some percentage, you are come out with some chart, okay. But when you have an analytical research, you are using inference. For example, from the sample, you are talking about the population. That means the average income from the sample, and you are saying that in the Surat city, the average income in the lower settlement, average income in higher income group is this. Or you can say that those who are not having a land, they are not participating the panchayat meeting. So is there any association between participation of panchayat meeting and the land pattern? Is there any association between education and the caste? Is there any association between education and the religion? And if you want to come out, then random or probability sample is more important than the non-random. Is it clear? Is it clear or anything? Your mic is mute. I could not understand. Your mic is mute. Any question? Hello?
Hello, sir. There may not be any other question from the audience. Okay. I will give your number and email if they want. I know you since last 20 years, therefore you may be cooperate to our participants every time. So I request to Madam for the proposed vote of thanks of Honorable Vimal Trivedi, sir.
On behalf of our college, HM College Karad, and whole FDP team, I extend a very hearty vote of thanks to the Dr. Vimal Trivedi sir, who spent time from his busy schedule to grace this occasion. He gave valuable lecture or a nice representation on the sampling concept in research and the sample concept and sample design. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And all the best to all the participants.